I'm joined now in the studio by former Trump primary opponent turned Trump supporter, Vivek Ramaswamy. Thank you for being here with us.
It's great to be here.
So you were there. I saw you there on election night. I know you were there in the aftermath. You spent some time with the now president-elect Donald Trump. What's your sense? How is he approaching this transition?
In this clip, we dive into an insightful interview where ABC News' Jonathan Karl sits down with Vic Ramaswamy to dissect the future of the Trump administration. Karl presses Ramaswamy for his take on how this administration will actually put its promises into action. With a new era beginning in American politics, there's plenty of speculation about the real challenges Trump's team will face as they translate campaign pledges into policies. Ramaswamy brings a sharp perspective, questioning the feasibility of Trump's bold promises and whether his administration will have the strategic chops to navigate the complex landscape of Washington. Let's get into it.
I think he cares about uniting the country. I think that is Donald Trump's number one focus. And I do think we have to get back to a place after this election, after that decisive victory, which I do think was a gift to the country, get back to a place where ordinary Americans who might have voted differently amongst their family members or their colleagues or their neighbors to be able to get together at the dinner table and say we're still Americans at the end of this. That's very much Donald Trump's headspace. He's also learned a lot from that first term, and I think he's going into this second term, even to take to new heights some of the things he wasn't able to accomplish in the first term, which I think is going to be a good thing.
I want to come back to that unity theme, but first, I've heard you say that this is a new Republican Party. So in brief, how is this different from the old Republican Party? What's the key differential?
Well, it's a party that's now a multi-ethnic working class coalition. You saw black voters, Hispanic voters, young voters. That was a big one. A much younger composition of the Republican primary base coming together on basic principles that really weren't as beholden to older Republican orthodoxies, but principles like free speech, anti-censorship, meritocracy, staying out of World War III. These are some of the common threads that brings together what is a pretty diverse and broad tent coalition to restore those basic constitutional principles. Here's a big one, and Donald Trump's talked for a long time about the deep state, but this idea of restoring self-governance is big in this new coalition. The idea that the people we elect to run the government, they haven't been the ones actually running the government for a very long time. Donald Trump is going to be the president of the United States in the real sense of that word, capital P president, where he is actually making the decisions with the democratic will of the people behind him, not the unelected bureaucratic class underneath him. And I think that's something that unites a common thread of even former Democrats to independents to libertarians to, of course, traditional Republicans as well. I think that that's a common thread that unites us.
All right, let's dig into what Ramaswamy had to say, because he really nailed it here. He spoke with such clarity and intelligence about where the Republican Party stands today. This isn't the party of endless wars, not the era of Dick Cheney and George Bush. No, this is the party of the people. We've woken up. We see what's really going on behind the scenes, and we're united like Voltron to defend what truly matters. We're here to protect our kids from agendas we don't agree with, to ensure our borders are strong, and to say no more to pouring our tax money into foreign conflicts. We're done with the system working against us. That's why we voted for a leader who we know will actually stand up for us. Someone who felt the weight of the system firsthand. Trump's been through it all. Smears, accusations, you name it. Yet he's like Teflon. Nothing sticks. He's our modern-day George Washington, ready to usher in a new era of enlightenment, and we're right behind him, ready for what's next.
But let me ask you about the unity, and I think you've referred to this as a resurgence of national unity. I'm hearing that from some people around the former president, but I'm hearing a very different message from others around the former president. For example, Mike Davis, who had been mentioned by Donald Trump Jr. as a possible candidate for attorney general in a new Trump administration, has been calling for all-out revenge against Trump's opponents. I want to give you just a couple of examples, and believe me, there are many, but a couple of examples of what he has said on X. He says Trump's opponents attempted to bankrupt him for non-fraud, imprison him for non-crimes, and take him off the ballot and take off his head. Now they want unity. F them. Let's unify them in prison. And one more, a short one. Here's my current mood. I want to drag their dead political bodies through the streets, burn them and throw them off the wall, legally, politically, and financially, of course. Now, Davis has said he's not going in the new administration, but this is a He was a clerk for Justice Gorsuch. And again, Donald Trump Jr. said that this is the kind of guy that could be Attorney General.
Well, look, the fact of the matter is you haven't heard that from Donald Trump, and you could airlift any quote from a number of people on the left who aren't very happy with the election result either, but who aren't going into the Harris-Biden administration in their trailing days either. What you're hearing from Donald Trump is he is going to be a president for all Americans. He is a guy who, in that first term, he had crowds chanting, "Lock her up" for Hillary Clinton. He didn't prosecute her. I think Donald Trump is focused on what makes people's lives better. And actually, my message to Democrats out there, even those who didn't vote for Donald Trump, is to give them a chance to actually make your life better. And I think a lot of people across the country, even who have bought into, I think, some false narratives about Donald Trump, are going to be pleasantly surprised as to finding more money in their paycheck, prices coming down in the country, a secure border. Those are things most Americans actually care about. And I think it's time to turn the page on a lot of these histrionics or Hitler comparisons or airlifting some quote of some person who Donald Trump.
I mean, this is somebody who's been pretty a staunch defender of Trump, pretty close to the team.
And by your acknowledgement, someone who's not coming into the administration.
Okay, so all the talk of retribution, is that gone now? And by the way, I've heard you say that he didn't prosecute Hillary Clinton. I mean, I've talked to Bill Barr about this. He wanted the Justice Department to prosecute, Barack Obama, Joe Biden, and they kind of pulled him back. But your sense is that retribution talk is done?
I'm going to tell you what Donald Trump has said on this time and again. Success will be our retribution. Success will be our vengeance. That's a direct line from Donald Trump. It's a beautiful sentiment. And I do think that success is unifying. Nothing's going to unite this country more than economic growth. Nothing is going to unite this country more than people feeling like their wages are rising at a faster pace than prices, which hasn't been the case for the last few years. And here's a big one that I know a lot of Democrats should support and do support as well, is restoring stability and peace on the global stage. I mean, the reality is the United States of America is at our best when the chief diplomat of the United States is the democratically elected U.S. president. That's not the case right now. It hasn't been for 4 years. That changes on January 20th, bringing us off the brink of major conflicts in other parts of the world. So I think that those are going to unite the country regardless of partisan affiliation. That's what I'm looking forward to.
That's just crazy. Trump has faced relentless attacks, character defamation, lies, and even threats against his life. And yet when it comes to those who have misused their power against him, there seems to be a double standard. Why shouldn't those who have wronged Trump, those who have abused their positions, be held accountable? As everyday citizens, we're expected to face the consequences of our actions. If we do something wrong, we're held to account. So why should it be any different for those in positions of power? Just because they're in a higher office doesn't mean they get a free pass. This is about fairness and integrity. No one, regardless of their status, should be above the law. It's time for those who have misused their authority to face the same standards as the rest of us. Accountability isn't just for some, it's for everyone.
Is he going to continue to support Ukraine? I mean, I've heard from the Ukraine side that the call actually went well that he had. Yeah. Elon Musk and President Trump with President Zelensky?
I think his interactions with Zelensky in recent weeks and months have been actually quite constructive. Donald Trump's first term is a great guide for stability. We were on the brink of major conflict when Donald Trump sat down with Barack Obama at that last transition. He's sitting down with Joe Biden on Wednesday. Donald Trump is a pragmatist in looking after American interests, and he believes in honesty when it comes to international diplomacy. He is the top diplomat, but I think also a tough love message to other allies, even saying that you need to bear your fair share of your defense spending. Yes, that's good for the United States, but yes, that's also good for Europe as well. And so I think that type of honesty and diplomacy is actually going to bring true strength and true peace in a way that we haven't seen in the last 4 years.
Now obviously, Trump's promised, and you've talked a lot about this, the mass deportation of undocumented immigrants. First of all, do you really think that we're going to see him round up and deport upwards of 11, sometimes he's put the number as high as 20 million people out of the United States? Is that really going to happen?
Donald Trump's campaign promise was the largest mass deportation in American history. Okay. And he's going to keep that promise. And I'll tell you, let's just start very pragmatically here. I think most Americans agree with this. You take the number of people who have entered the country just in the last 18 to 24 months. That's millions of undocumented immigrants, illegal migrants, who have really no place in this country. Anybody who's committed a crime. Automatically, that already is the largest mass deportation in American history. Now take that to the next level. Not an iota, not a cent of government spending should go to subsidize this, not to sanctuary cities, not to federal aid to people who are in this country illegally. and we're going to see a large number, by the millions, of self-deportations as well. And so these are pragmatic places to start that would give us, yes, the largest mass deportation in American history.
But fall far short of 11 million or more.
We're going to go step by step aggressively. Donald Trump's going to stay true to his campaign pledge, but in a way that respects the dignity of the Americans who are already here.
Okay,
and I do think it's offensive to use, when we have $34 trillion of national debt, government funds to subsidize this type of illegal migration. That's half the problem. And if any illegal migrant is no longer a customer of the welfare state, you're going to see self-deportations combined with deportations of those who entered.
Let me ask you, though, I mean, there's been a lot of attention over the years to people known as the Dreamers. These are people who came into the United States with their parents as young children, grew up here, went to school here, some of them great success stories, but they are still undocumented immigrants. And there's a lot of concern. Some of them are deeply frightened by what they heard from Donald Trump during the campaign. I want to play just two, the words from two of these Dreamers of what they've said of their concerns now after the election and get you to respond.
I could wake up tomorrow and there could be an immigration agent, an ICE agent outside of my house or outside of my mom's house. We don't know.
We are not what you're seeing on TV. We are people who have been living here for over 10 years who call Arizona home.
I couldn't agree more. We need to take a strong stance on immigration, focusing on securing our borders and fixing the broken system that's been left unchecked for so long. Illegal immigration has real consequences, and it's time to address it. Those who enter illegally need to follow a legal path if they want to come back. It's about fairness and ensuring that everyone goes through the proper channels. However, there's a more nuanced side to this. For those who have came here illegally but have spent their entire life contributing to this country, people who have grown up here, gone to school, built families, and have lived as regular citizens without committing crimes, I believe they deserve a different consideration. It would feel extreme to uproot these individuals from the only home they know and send them to a country that's essentially foreign to them. Hopefully, the administration recognizes this complexity and chooses a compassionate, balanced approach. I'm optimistic they'll do the right thing and handle this with the care it deserves.
I mean, they're worried about getting that knock on the door.
Look, I say this is the kid of legal immigrants to this country. It's the proud child of legal immigrants to the United States of America. If your first act of entering this country broke the law, that doesn't allow you to remain in this country. You have no right to enter the United States.
I mean, they came in as 2 or 3, 5 years old.
Well, let me just say a few words about this. I think we're going to be pragmatic. A few basic principles that all Americans agree with are this, okay? One is no migration without consent. Think about your nation like a body. Number two is that consent should only be granted and should be granted to migrants who benefit the United States of America. But those who enter without consent must be removed.
Well,
and I think that those are very pragmatic principles.
So they must be removed, these people that have spent their entire lives growing up.
I'm going to separate two discussions here. First is let's talk about what the legal immigration system ought to look like. Yeah. Do we have a broken legal immigration system? Yes, we do. But I think the first step is going to be to restore the rule of law, to do it in a very pragmatic way, Jonathan, pragmatic way that says, let's just start. I don't think you disagree with me. I would hope not. I don't think most Americans do, to say those who have entered in the last couple of years, they haven't established roots in the country. Those who have committed a crime, they should be out of this country. That is by the millions. That alone would be the largest mass deportation. Combine that with ending government aid for all illegals, you see self-deportations. And I want to say one more thing, because this is important to the second term. Don't forget the second mass deportation that we require as well, and I use this figuratively. The mass deportation of millions of unelected federal bureaucrats out of the D.C. bureaucracy.
We're out of time, but I do want to talk to you about that in the future. Just very quickly, we are out of time. What are you going to do? Are you coming into the administration? We're going to see you replace J.D. Vance in the Senate. What are you going to do?
There's a couple great options on the table.
All right, everyone. I'd love to hear what you think about the video. Drop your thoughts in the comments. What's your take on Ramaswamy's perspective? And how are you feeling about the direction of the country under a Trump presidency? Are you optimistic about the next 4 years? I know I am. If you enjoyed the video, do me a favor. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this video with a friend who might find it interesting. Thanks for watching, and until next time, take care.